Welcome into the PHNX Suns pregame show brought to you by our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you know whenever we are live. I'm Lindsey, that's Espo. We're going to be holding it down for you guys today as the Phoenix Suns prepare to take on the Denver Nuggets. This is going to be a really fun game for a lot of different reasons. Of course, anytime we face off against the Nuggets, I feel like there's a little extra added oomph to it, both from the teams and the fan bases.
Yep. Hey, if only we had Chris Paul, we'd be able to win. Oh, wait, we do!
Hey-o!
They don't have Jamal Murray, though, so we'll still hear that.
Yeah,
well,
well,
whatever.
you know. Chris Paul is back. It's official. A lot sooner than what was anticipated originally when the Suns sent out the injury update on him, which is great news. Hopefully, everything is completely healed and good to go.
We're about to find out.
We are about to find out. This will be an exciting game to have Chris Paul back. I mean, it's just good to have him back in this lineup. It's good to, I know we were talking like, let's keep him out even longer. Let's let him rest. Let's let him like completely heal. A couple games before the playoffs start, bring him back to get some rhythm. But you know what? At the end of the day, if Chris Paul is able to play, he's going to play. Like, we all know that. And it's not bad to let him have even more time to get his rhythm under him. So,
yeah, I mean, and there's only 9 games left, so there's not – it feels like there's so much more time and before the playoffs and so many games left, but in reality, it's a handful of weeks and it's 9 games. So even if he plays, you limit those minutes and it's going to ensure that you're ready for that first round series, because the last thing you want is for there to be rust, and I understand that. So yeah, we're in for an interesting ride tonight. I want to see how he looks, how comfortable he is, and is he doing? He doesn't have to be a peak performance, but is he doing everything we expect Chris Paul to do with ease, without hesitation, without favoring, trying to stay away from making contact with that thumb, those kind of things, because that's going to be most important. When somebody is kind of trying to lean away from where they've been hurt, that's when they usually get hurt again.
Yeah.
So
when there's a little hesitation.
Yeah. When you're trying to favor where you were injured, that's usually where you injure somewhere else. So hopefully, when it comes to Chris tonight, we just see what seems like natural motion from those kind of things. Sure, there'll be rust, but that's what I want to see is just, does he feel like normal Chris Paul, that we're not seeing anything? We all knew it in that playoff run. You could tell when Chris Paul wasn't right.
It wasn't 100%. Yeah.
So I just want to see that. I'm sure he'll have a minutes limit. They'll try to get him out at certain points, so they don't overtax him. But that's what I'm looking for. The eye test tonight is the important thing, not the stat line. It's how does he look tonight. That's what's key.
Yeah, and Monty said pregame that they're going to try to keep him, 28 to 33 minutes, somewhere around that kind of frame, but that he's going to be keeping an eye on Chris Paul. He knows that Chris will tell him if something is wrong. He trusts his players enough to be able to communicate that with him. And plus, Chris Paul's seasoned veteran. He's not going to do something that's going to be harmful or detrimental to himself or this team long term if it's something that he genuinely feels is a sticky situation.
Oh, yeah.
And then he also said that he's also going to be using the eye test. He said after being a professional athlete and being around professional athletes for so long, there's certain things that you can kind of pick up on, certain mannerisms, certain ways they're acting, and he'll be keeping an eye out for that for Chris Paul tonight, just as an extra security blanket, right? An extra layer of caution.
Yeah, you see Chris cringe at any point tonight, and Monty's going to have that hook ready real quick.
Yeah,
they're not going to risk anything because they understand, just like we do, there's less meaning in these final 9. Yeah, it's a tune-up. Yeah, you want to get to 63 wins, all those kind of things. But once they clinch that first seed, everything else is just not going through the motions, but you're trying to just make sure you're ready for the playoffs and healthy.
Yeah. So I apologize if I pronounce your name wrong, but Paige in the comments said the good part is it's a hand injury, so he's definitely in shape and good to go. Yes and no. Yes, because you're correct. It is an upper body injury, so he's been able to at least maintain a level of certain physicality and just being in a certain type of shape. But there is a difference in being in game shape and being in normal shape to the everyday athlete. There's just a different level, and the players have all talked about this in the past. Monty's talked about this in the past. And Chris has missed, 15 games now?
Yep.
So it's going to be a minute. I'm not saying it's going to be a long time. And I'm not saying you couldn't come out and have an insane impact on this team immediately. But we do have to give him a little bit of time to get into what they call game shape.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not out of shape like we think of it as people. He's been doing his run, his cardio, doing all those things. But there is a different flow to a game of basketball when you're out there with 9 other guys and the way you have to move and the things you have to do and the up and down. I mean, it's just that's what it comes down to. That's the game conditioning. It's just certain types of movements. I agree. It's not like if he has a leg injury, how your conditioning would be, but we have to be patient with him or not. Maybe he'll come out and look normal and we'll all go, well, so much for that game conditioning crap we talked about.
I mean, that's why he does have the nickname, the point god. So if anybody could do it, it would be Chris Paul. And we'd all be like, well, as much as I'd like to say I'm surprised, I'm really not, because it's Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Speaking of point god, if you guys want to celebrate his return to the court, you can do so with a really dope stained glass point god t-shirt that is available right now in our locker. Head over to PHNXlocker.com to pick yours up today. These are awesome, and you're going to want to get them in your hands before the playoffs start, because this is the shirt to rock to those games.
This we've done some designs. You've seen them all. This is my favorite, and I've gotten more comments while wearing this shirt than I ever get, because nobody wants to comment on the way I look. But when you got a dope shirt, people want to go, that's a cool shirt. So I'm proud to wear it, and we get lots of comments. You'll want to wear it too. So head to the PHNX locker and pick it up. Or if you want to become a member, if you pay for a year subscription, you can get this for free.
That's true.
You can get that, and you get Gerald's great content. So I mean, 1 or 2 ain't bad, when you get something good.
Yeah, so. I mean, it's a win-win either way. You know what I think is really funny when you said that, it made me think about this immediately. You're like, if you're wearing a dope shirt, you don't have to worry about anything because people will just pay attention to that. Yeah. When I was first getting into wearing sneakers, I was like, I'm so out of my comfort zone here because I don't know how to rock these. I don't know what to wear them with. And you just get something that's cool and you put it on, and everyone immediately, your coolness level goes up by a few points because everyone is so focused on that one thing, a part of your outfit, that even if you haven't mastered putting it all together yet, that's the focal point, and that's what people are paying attention to. So
that's the
I'm just saying.
That's what's happened with these glasses. Everybody's like, "Oh, really cool glasses!" Because I could change frames and everything, and I'm like, and that means you're not looking at anything else, so I can look like a slob everywhere else. You're just looking at the glasses. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, whatever it takes to get your confidence levels up, we are here for it, and that's why we made a dope t-shirt for you to get your hands on. The magic number is 1. 1, you guys. We are this close. It could happen tonight, whether the Suns win or the Grizzlies lose. Tonight, the Phoenix Suns could get that number 1 seed.
Both teams playing on the tail end of a back-to-back. Grizzlies just got some bad news. John Morant out with a knee injury. They'll reevaluate him in 2 weeks,
that's rough.
They'll reevaluate him right before the playoffs, which means that they become less of a concern. Like, look, we've talked about it. This is a done deal. The Suns are going to be the number 1 seed. The Grizzlies are definitely going to lose again, and we know the Suns will win again. So it's done, but it could be wrapped up tonight, and I think that would be a great way to go about it. Chris Paul comes back. You get the win. You wrap up the 1 seed, and that is, it's poetic in some
Yeah,
ways.
exactly.
I like it. So.
It's a good storyline. It makes for a really cool and neat storyline. And this team has been full of them all season long. So why not add another one to the book that is the 2021-2022 season for the Phoenix Suns? It'll be exciting. Are you nervous at all about tonight's game? Are you Team Suns 100%, or do you have any hesitation?
When am I ever not Team Suns? Like
you have anxiety. Don't even.
Look, I mean, whenever you're playing the reigning MVP and a guy that plays as well as Nikola Jokic, obviously you're concerned, and it's not going to be a cakewalk.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, but I still like the way the Suns match up with this Nuggets team. No MPJ, no Jamal Murray still. So even at full strength, I like the way they match up. But when Denver isn't at full strength, I like it even more. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen these two teams play in a long time, though. The last time was November, and that was without Jokic for the Nuggets. I mean, put it in perspective, the Suns were 13-3 the last time these two teams faced off. So
they've come a long way.
Yes,
they've grown a lot.
Both teams have it.
That's true.
That fact. So, but I'm not overly concerned. The thing that concerns me the most is it's the tail end of a back-to-back.
Mm-hmm.
But you get Chris Paul, which will give you that extra energy. It always does for a team. And you know this Suns team is the masters of finding little things to motivate them, as we saw last night. So having Chris back will help definitely keep them peak motivated and give them that little extra energy you need on the tail end of a back-to-back. So we'll see. It's probably going to be a close game.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game though.
I'm going to say Suns by 4.
Hey-oh. Starting it off hot.
Of course, I looked at the wrong camera. Suns in 4. That's what I meant to do.
All right, a couple things from the chat I want to address before we give you guys the official injury report for tonight's game. John said he got a new job recently. Congratulations. Really happy for you. And then Manny, thank you for the $2 super chat. They asked thoughts on Shaq saying LA will beat us in the first round. We're going to get into this more in depth in the post-game show, but just basic thoughts, garbage.
Yeah. Here's one for you. The Phoenix Suns are the best team in the NBA. Suck it, Shaquille O'Neal. We'll do it more like post-game, but that's a preview of what's coming up when we talk
There you go. So make sure to tune in post-game as well. Meet us right back here, same place. All right, let's take a look at the injury report for tonight's game. This one's kind of a no-brainer. I feel like we all already knew this coming into this one. On the Nuggets side, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. On the Suns side, only Cam Johnson. He's the only remaining Sun on that injury report as far as the players that we have seen all season long, for at least in the recent months. We gave
Dario's
you guys,
still there. Don't worry.
Frank is still there. Never forgetting about those guys. But
how could we ever forget about either of them?
I know. Until we have any more of a concrete kind of update, we're still going to just continue to leave them off the graphic just because it's easier for our producers.
Well, now that there's only Cam there, it's not as hard.
Right, yeah,
when we were 7 deep, you almost needed 2 graphics to make it work. So.
Okay, so we have to talk about Devin Booker and the disrespect that this young man continues to receive. Because today there was a video clip that went pretty viral, at least on Suns Twitter, and I would say probably a little bit more on NBA Twitter as well. So we're going to react to it. But let's first play this clip just in case you guys haven't seen it.
Roz, why do you think Booker's not getting as much MVP love, and do you think he deserves it?
Well, first of all, I think in general, Devin Booker deserves more love. And period. Thank you. Full stop. And I do think that, yes, he should be in the larger conversation of MVP because he is the best player on the most dominant team in the NBA right now. I think a knock against Devin has been perhaps is Chris Paul, maybe not the biggest scorer, but is he the most impactful or best player on that team? Chris Paul has been out and injured. Suns keep winning. I think that helps Devin Booker's argument for MVP. But Cassidy, if I'm gonna be honest, I think there's real reasons why he's not like a top contender for this MVP award. First of all, he doesn't have the statistical dominance, which is an important part of this award. He's not a top 10 scorer. I mean, he's not even a top 45 assist maker. He just doesn't have that kind of statistical dominance. I think it's a style of play. You know, he's not a high-flying dunker like Giannis or a flurry of threes like Steph. He's an excellent player, but the style of play might get overlooked. I don't think he has the overall importance to his team in a way that Jokic does for the Nuggets. What happens to the Nuggets if Jokic isn't there? You know, to Matt's point, the Suns keep going, let me finish my point. Let me finish. You making a face. Same with Joel Embiid. I think his importance is just, I don't think he has the same level of like importance to the overall success of the team. And I think he doesn't have the same impact on both ends of the court, which for me, if I was an MVP voter, I'm looking at the full game, not only offense but defense, like a Joel Embiid does, or like a Giannis Antetokounmpo does. So absolutely,
Steve Nash won 2 MVPs. He didn't play no D.
This is me if I'm an MVP voter, and I've had MVP votes, and I've looked at statistical dominance.
Okay.
I've looked at success of team.
Okay.
I've looked at importance to his team, and then I've also looked at feel. Like, all right, can you just not stop this guy?
All right, first and foremost, I love Roz. Roz is my girl. She knows ball, but I think she has fallen victim to the narrative that's out there, most likely because Chris Vernon brought this up when we talked with him earlier this week. A lot of times with national media, you're unable or you don't want to. It's different for every member, but you're not able to watch every single game that happens across the league. So if you're not focusing in on the Phoenix Suns and watching majority of their games, you're not seeing what's actually happening. And he even also mentioned sometimes if one national person says it, other people will start to follow suit and say, well, this person who I trust their opinion has said this. So you know what? I'm just going to go with what they say. I'm going to follow the crowd, essentially. And I think that might be what's happening here. She started off well. Like at the beginning, I was like, oh, sweet, Roz is on our team. I love this. But the way that it ended was just like, it's just not the actual case if you watch night in and night out.
And not to make excuses for her, but she's also at a few points throughout it looking off camera as if somebody's trying to get her attention, which I can say when that happens, you can easily lose your train of thought. Not that that's why she went where she went, but maybe because of the argument, because there's some really weak points in this argument. He's not a top 10 scorer, is what she says. He's number 11, all right? And he has a better shooting percentage than anybody in the top 10 that isn't a big man, that makes most of their buckets within 10 feet, 12 feet, you know? He's got a better three-point percentage, field goal percentage than anybody in the top 10 other than Trae Young. Like, he's doing these things. She says he's not a good defensive player like the other guys. He's one of the top shooting guards in defensive rating. Like, he doesn't have the impact on his team. Come on. I look, that I can't, that's an eye test thing. If you're not watching enough Suns, I can't help you there. Like, that's just that we know that's not true here. So you look at it in totality, and I'm like, this is just a weak argument. But I think you're right. It's groupthink, right?
Yeah.
And what I really hate, and this isn't just her, this is an argument that you get from a lot of people, is, well, if you took this guy off this team, they'd be much worse than if you took Devin Booker off that team. Okay, so he's punished because his general manager did a better job than the guys in Philly? Like, how is that fair? So they don't have a flaming pile of crap as their second unit, so Devin Booker gets punished because that makes him not as good. No, that just means his roster is better, all right? And this is where the whole definition of most valuable becomes problematic. It doesn't mean that if you're off the team, all hell breaks loose. That just means you have a shitty roster around a guy. Devin Booker's impact on this team, the culture, is undeniable, what he does here.
Well, and I would say, like, if it's mostly based off of your impact on the team, like, that's the problem, is that, like, every other day it's a different, like, which category means more, which one has more weight. Because if you're putting more weight into having impact on your team, then Devin Booker should have been the MVP years ago, when we were only having 19 wins in a season, because we only had 19 wins solely because of Devin Booker.
You take him off,
so you
they
take
had
him off the team
wins.
and there's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's super unfortunate. Like, there's a part of me that's like, fine, you know what? We're going to gatekeep the Phoenix Suns. Like, you guys don't get access to this team. You don't get to enjoy in the storylines. Like, fine. Like, You know what I'm saying? But then there's another part of me that this really frustrates me, mostly from the player perspective, because the players deserve respect for what they're able to do. And they also have monetary things on the line. Like money is on the line for these guys when it comes to these type of awards because it's in their contracts. They get major bonuses if they reach certain awards or status within the NBA.
Yeah, the all NBA stuff can impact Devin Booker's ability to get the next level of max deal and kind of things. Like this isn't just people voting for a meaningless award or voting for a meaningless spot on an all NBA team. It does have impact on what these guys make, and I don't think that's fair. I think they need to do away with that because there's no reason somebody like you or I or anybody at ESPN should be able to impact what Devin Booker or any NBA star makes. That's asinine to me. And look,
I understand it, but at the same time, because it's such a faulty system right now, because there is no way that any one person could truly watch every single player and study their game throughout the entire season, you're not going to get a completely fair result.
No, yeah, not at all. And so, and look, we're 5 years ago tonight was when Devin Booker dropped 70 on Boston. And
5 years.
5 years.
Can you believe that? We're so old.
Yeah, we're very old. And honestly, to me, that was the start of this false narrative that has made things so difficult for Booker. And by no doing of his own, right? He went out there, his coach put him in a position to continue to score in that game, and he did it. And he became one of the few in NBA history ever to be able to do that. And I think that skewed perspective and soured people on the way that happened, and it led to a lot of these bad takes that somehow he hasn't been able to shake over these years. It hasn't changed, right? It's still that mentality, even though he's no longer a volume scorer on a bad team, but that somehow that the reputation is still sitting there for him unfairly. And like he tweeted to Isaiah Thomas, the criteria just keeps changing.
It does.
It doesn't matter.
It changes depending on who you're talking about and at what time you're talking about that.
I mean, it changes. The same person's criteria can change on Devin Booker and how good he is or not multiple times. And it's a moving target constantly for him. And this was just another example of it.
So Charles said that's a scout's job in reference to me saying there's no way that these media members can watch and really dissect players across the league on a regular basis. I actually am not mad at the idea of having scouts be the ones who vote on this.
Obviously, only the advanced scouts that are looking at the teams that are playing, not college scouts. But I'd be totally fine with that because those guys are paid to evaluate talent. They're supposed to watch every group, and at least they're looking at every team twice a year, which may be more than some of the media members have done it. I mean, I'll admit, I haven't watched a whole hell of a lot of Detroit Pistons basketball this year or Charlotte Hornets other than the times that they played the Suns. So it makes a lot of sense to potentially have people who are paid to watch those on a regular basis.
And you could even say, you could say, but the scouts are team employees, but maybe there's some sort of, that already is. There's a certain
coaches
weighted
vote
system.
On things.
And you have each team's scouts can come up with, they submit who their votes are for. I don't know. I'm not mad at this idea at all. But you know what? Enough of our opinions. Here's a guy who doesn't typically share his opinions on this type of things. But today, Monty Williams had a few thoughts about this whole MVP conversation.
I typically don't mess with that because there's so many players that are having monster years. I struggle with, and I'm biased, but I struggle with the fact that, I don't get on a lot of platforms at all. I'm usually Hoops Hype and NBA app on my phone, right? And I saw Devin was in 9th place. Okay. There you go. That's all you need me to say. Like, how do you do it? What's the criteria? The criteria seems to be a moving target every year. Is it winning in stats? Is it stats? Is it impact on winning? Like, I don't know what it is. So it's hard to make a judgment as a coach. And if I do that, I spend too much time getting upset about it because two of our guys aren't where they should be. So I do know the guys that get the mention a lot, and they should get it. I mean, Joker, Giannis, Embiid, but to have Devin in ninth, yeah, exactly.
But Monty's face and the hand gesture said everything. He couldn't have said. He didn't have to say anything if he just did that. That would have been enough to go.
He's like the guy off of TikTok. Like, what do you want? What do you want me to do here?
Yeah, I don't get this.
You guys are all making this much harder than it actually needs to be.
Bailey in the chat says winning the title will fix the narrative. I don't know that it will.
I really don't.
Winning, getting to the playoffs was supposed to
The
fix
whole
it.
idea of, winning is supposed to help fix the narrative. Now, we've had 2 seasons in a row now of winning, really good winning basketball. Not even just barely making it winning basketball.
The best winning percentage kind of basketball.
It's still something every time. It's a bummer for the Suns. Absolutely bummer. But Monty said it best. It's just one of those things that you can't, at least for him, I understand his perspective of not being able to sit there and spend too much time thinking about it or reading about it or looking up anything about it, because it is super frustrating and it's going to take a toll on us. I mean, it already has. We're all upset about it. But Monty's got bigger fish to fry. He's got something else on his mind that he's got to worry about, aka winning a championship with this team. So I'm glad that he spoke on it. I'm glad that he shared some of his thoughts, but I think that's the extent of what we really need to hear from Monty because, again, bigger fish to fry.
And I don't know that I 100% buy into it. You know that they hear it. They understand the disrespect.
They absolutely do.
And Monty's paid to not go out there and complain about that constantly. He's paid to talk about basketball and to coach basketball, but I know they're all well aware that Book gets no respect for that the team in general still gets no respect. I'm sure even Chris hates the narrative that somehow he was the magic elixir for this team because he knows all the work that everybody else puts in too. And he doesn't seem like a guy that wants to steal the spotlight. He wants to make sure that everybody gets the love they deserve.
So Manny said it'll make it simpler for us as far as winning a championship because the national media has painted a picture that we're winning because we're playing in a weaker conference. Ergo, our record shouldn't count for Book. So they just focus on stats.
Yeah, they're 10 games better than anybody. That even if that is a weak conference argument, we'd as the Suns would still be kicking the East's ass if we were there. You play who you play, and I hate that argument.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up the show with what our friends over at the DraftKings Sportsbook app think about tonight's game. What are the odds on this one, Espo?
I'm shocked. I did not expect this.
Yeah.
The Nuggets are actually favored by a point. Which we saw, I believe this was the line yesterday too, but it was in the Suns' favor. So look, this just says to me they think these two teams are evenly matched because the Suns are on the tail end of a back-to-back. But like I said, I think this is a 4-point Suns win is what I'm thinking. Close game, Suns pull it out in the end.
All right, and then we chose some bets to make for tonight's game. So for me, I feel like I took this one a few games back, and it was a lot of fun. It made the first 3 minutes of the game a little more exciting. So I've got 3 threes made in the first 3 minutes of the game at a plus 370. Go ahead, Espo. You tell yours and we'll share.
I had to go old school. I had to go old school. That Crowder's Cash Club. Just bring it.
Love that.
Bring an oldie but a goodie back. That's plus 600. So I'll take that. Especially Chris back in the lineup. We'll see some of that offense flowing the way that it typically did when Chris was when Jay was hitting those on a regular basis. Saul's still at a negative minus 10,000 on having fun. I think That's pretty spot on there. And
Yeah,
then
and Gerald's got a plus 25,000. Jamal Murray will play.
I love it because
You just put $1 down on that, and if it happens, you're gonna go home.
well, I
with
love
a
it because
fat check.
Gerald's read the injury report. He
That's
knows
all it would be. Wait, a plus 25,000 only gets you $250.
Yeah, because you
I
get,
feel like it should be more than that.
if you put 1,000, if you put 100, it's that's how the math works. Yeah,
Well, I didn't know that. That's disappointing.
Still $1 for 250. But
I mean,
but
facts.
I
Sorry, I
love
didn't mean to cut you off, but I was surprised.
What I love is that Gerald's seen the injury report, so he knows he's not playing. But Gerald is an eternal optimist.
He is.
And that's why this is such a nice thing. Is Gerald likes to believe in the best possible outcome for everybody. So.
All right. Well, if you make some gambles tonight, good luck. Be sure to do so on the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code PHNX if you are not a current member. When you do sign up, it'll get you some goodies over there.
And Jonathan in the chat wants to know, how do I bet on the Crowder's Cash Club? You go into the app, you choose player props, you choose first field goal, you choose Jay Crowder at plus 600. Put as much as you want down, and that's how you join the Crowder's.
Sometimes I feel like you have
First
to
field
do
goal.
a parlay to do first field goals
Not
as
today,
well.
though.
Not
It was
today,
in
though.
there. I saw it
Okay.
in the regular player props.
All
so.
right. Well, there you go. That's exciting. So thank you guys for tuning in to the pregame show. We appreciate you. You can follow along on Twitter at PHNX_Suns, or if you are a PHNX.com member.
Or PHMX,
You
whatever.
can hang out with us in the members only Discord. Don't forget to join us right back here after the game wraps up. We'll see you shortly. Bye.